Geekly! This week, we're going to be talking about Creed 3, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order for 2019, and baseball cards. And now your host, Mike Indeglio.
What's up, team? Happy Monday. This is Mike Indeglio. That's Keith Varney, and this is K&M Geekly. Just a sneak peek at two geeks talking about some of the things got them through their week, getting them through this week. So happy to join you. We're a little in advance here, Keith, so we're time traveling today. Hope you can feel it. Hope you're feeling I know you're feeling a little bit under the weather. Let's chat about it, because I just got over probably what you've got.
Yeah, I don't exactly know what I've got, but I definitely I don't feel great. So you might notice that I'm wearing a hat. I never wear a hat because I haven't showered yet.
And I'm not wearing a hat.
We're doing this like first thing in the morning, and I was like, let me throw a hat on. And but it's good because it's commemorating my Boston Hockey Bruins, who last night just broke the all-time NHL record of 105 years of this league. All-time record for fastest team to 100 points.
Cool.
So the astoundingly good Boston Hockey Bruins, which of course means, you know what that's going to mean? It means we're going to get pasted in the first round of the playoffs, and we're all going to be very, very sad. But
well, Keith, let me tell you, as a sports fan who's made it to the championship in two of the major leagues this year, and have come up short, I know the feeling. I commiserate with you, but I'll tell you what, that doesn't mean the playoffs ain't exciting. Still exciting, even when you're losing.
I will kill myself.
But they're the best team, right? So they should theoretically.
Yeah. Well,
7-game series, right, in hockey? So that's
7-game series.
Is that all the way through the playoffs?
All the way through the playoffs.
See, that's the way it should be. I don't understand why these leagues are like, the first round, it's only 3 games or 2 games. That doesn't make any sense.
I completely agree. Because like it allows your best teams to be your best teams.
Right.
Because, any team can beat any other team in one game. But over 7, it's a lot more difficult. But I have to tell the story of this hat.
Yeah, please do.
So this hat,
I'm a new fan of the flat bills, as you see. But when I wear a hat every week, I'm a fan of the new era 950, which is a snapback flat brim. I don't like fitted hats because my head changes in dimension depending on how much hair I have.
Yeah. So I don't have the luxury of any of those hat thoughts.
Okay.
And let me tell you, Mike, because my head is gigantic, and I know every one of you out there like, yeah, we know, Keith. No, I mean physically, actually, literally gigantic, to the point where I got this hat at the arena in Game 7 in 2018 against Toronto. Amazing game, so much fun, and we're there at the mothership, at the flagship store of where they sell hats. And we went around the entire stadium trying to find any Bruins hat of any style that fit on my head. Because my head is too large. And so this is the only one in the entire stadium that was a special one for that. It's still not big enough. But they literally just like, I'm sorry, sir, we don't have anything to serve you. And just for the sake of comparison, this is what a normal human-sized hat looks like on my head.
Yeah, let me tell you.
It's like a yarmulke.
You're wearing the wrong type of hats. See, I also have an epic hat. Like when you wear a snapback hat, as they call it, right? Where do you put the snaps? How many buttons are available? All the way?
It doesn't matter because the depth of the hat is not high enough so that I can take it all the way out, which is fine, but then it just sits on the top of my head and it falls off.
Let me change your world today. Now, they're having a sale today. Lids is having a sale online. Some of the best hats are $36, which is a great price. Free shipping to your door. I know that sounds too expensive for you, Keith. You love a freebie. That's
ridiculous. It's a hat. It should be like $10.
Just listen to me now. The 950, all right? That's not fitted. It's got the snapback. They're wide, and the flat brim gives you some depth up front, so it actually feels proportional on your head. I'm telling you, man, they'll fit.
You have not,
Keith, I'm telling you, my head is as big as yours. We have equal size heads, yes.
I guarantee you it's not. Because my head on your body, you'd be like a freaking bobblehead. You wouldn't be able to walk straight.
All right. Well, folks, here you go. I will say, and I don't want to go into this diatribe now. We don't have the time. But I will say, Keith, you've been railing about something online. I don't know how much we've talked about it on the show, but I will say, in your honor, I have tried to watch hockey, a couple hockey games on... mostly because YouTube TV, there's been reports recently that they've upped the bit rate. which would help
Oh.
with some of the. They have a lot of compression on YouTube TV, even more so than over the air, and so it's not always looking great. Anyway, apparently they've improved some of it anecdotally, so I was checking out some different things. Tried to watch another hockey game. You can't watch hockey right now. Sorry, I don't even care. Especially if you're a non-fan, they're not welcoming you in because it's just ads. It's a commercial the whole time. The whole time. Now in baseball, they have the little thing behind the batter and it flips ads. It's kind of like a billboard. You tune it out. It's very hard to tune out in hockey. It's very distracting, I will say.
Well, because they've built it into the game.
Yeah,
It's intentionally drawing your eye away from the action, away from the puck, and it's competing with the sport you're trying to watch intentionally.
Yeah, I think you would agree, and I don't think I'm being hyperbolic saying this. You get a more pure hockey sports experience playing a video game in this day and age than watching it on television.
Yes, you can actually watch what's happening. 100%.
We'll talk. Maybe we'll have an episode about that because there's some important stuff. Okay, so a couple of things. I'm heading out of town in a couple hours here, so we're popping in a Geekly. I wanted to talk about. I got to see an advanced screening, and I believe it opens March 3rd, which is today. Of ready for it? Hold on, let me do this right. Every week.
Ooh.
Boop boop boop.
Here it comes. Here it comes.
You ready for it? Oh,
I'm ready.
Yeah, that's not it. That's it.
Yes.
Creed 3. Actually, we don't even need a little one, right? I think this actually.
I think that's great.
We could even put our logo right over him.
Oh, you don't want to block shirtless Michael B. Jordan?
That's true. I mean, if we want the views, we should probably just.
Come on.
We should probably let him do his thing. Where did I put the main logo? None of this matters. Okay. All right. So, Keith, let me ask you first. As a surrogate Philly guy, are you a Rocky guy? Were you into the Rockies growing up? Yeah, clearly, as a sports guy, you must know the Rockies.
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't like sports movies for the same reason I don't like movie musicals.
Yeah, you're a cold, dead heart inside. That's why.
No, I'm not cold, dead heart. It's just like it's a diet version of the thing that I love.
That's fair.
It's not. It's a fake, not real version. However, yes, I have seen.
But the best of them, you would have to agree, capture some of that dopamine high and the rush and the excitement.
No, and Rocky it's a phenomenal movie. Like there's no getting around it. And I didn't watch it until I was an adult, until I became a Philly-in-law, and so I watched it. I watched the whole Rocky series, and it has its highs and lows. And then I did watch Creed. I watched the first Creed, which I enjoyed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So quickly, just the Rocky series, I won't go too deep into it. My family is big into, mostly because we're from Philadelphia, and few other fictional characters have come to basically define and embody a city more than Rocky Balboa in Philadelphia. I mean, it's hard pressed to see another fictional character that is basically real in a certain place. You know what I mean? Like whenever we're talking sports or Philly sports or any underdog story, Rocky comes to mind. So, I mean, it's a Best Picture nominee for won, right? Did it win Best Picture?
Yes,
76?
absolutely.
Yeah, in 76. Anyway, Sylvester Stallone, so many great stories about Rocky. And so, yes, it had a troubled, not troubled, it is the definition of maybe too many sequels, and they rebooted the sequels, but still kept the lore. And I would say that they did justice to the terrible Rocky V by redoing Rocky Balboa as pseudo Rocky VI. So when Creed came out, directed and written by Ryan Coogler, I believe he also wrote. I'm looking at it. Aaron Covington also co-wrote the screenplay with him. It was questionable how that would pan out, kind of passing the torch. I mean, Indiana Jones tried to pass the torch to the LaBouffe, and that didn't go well in Crystal Skull. So
Didn't go great.
Yeah. So how would this work? And even with kind of a preposterous sort of plot line in that Apollo Creed, Rocky's big adversary, they became friends at the end, respected each other. His son is coming up, and Rocky has to train him, and it seems a little.
I don't think that's that preposterous.
Well, I mean, it's what I guess what I mean is they tried to sell the film as it would be a more grounded tale, and then you're like, well, that plot line is a little. But regardless, I thought it really worked, and what worked the most for me in that kind of plot line was Rocky through the series sort of becomes estranged with his son, and so this becomes sort of a father-son tale, and also Rocky's dealing with a lot of loss. And I firmly believe, no shade, that Sylvester Stallone's a great action guy, right? He's a great action star, great, his movies are what they are. But when it comes to portraying Rocky, something about that character speaks to his soul. They are synonymous with one another. Every time he is Rocky, especially in the Creed series, it is masterful. Old man Rocky, like dealing with the loss of Adrian and aging and stuff, I
thought he was terrific in it.
Outstanding. This melancholy and the idea of, I'm kind of seeing in my mom now is of aging and recognizing that the sand is coming out of the hourglass, and like, what is life now? What do you have to look forward to? How can you? There's so much there.
He's identified with that character for 40, 50, 40 some almost 50 years, and he wrote it, right?
Yeah.
So like he created Rocky.
It was his
Rocky
baby,
is him.
And this was him, and he, and so then Creed 2, Creed did very, very well. It was a very good movie. Creed 2, Coogler was Coogler was not involved in this one. The screenplay was Stephen Caple Jr. No, excuse me, Julie Taylor and Sylvester Stallone with the screenplay. It was directed by Stephen Caple Jr. And a kind of a crazy plot line again, whereas this time they bring Drago back from Rocky 4. And it's another father-son kind of exploration, as Drago has been disgraced after his loss by the sort of fall of the Soviet Union and the oligarchs, and the wife left, and the son now has to like avenge him, and there's a whole thing. And that movie, Creed 2, pretty good. Hits a lot of the same beats, and is the final act is pretty. It's a Rocky film. It is what it is. Yeah. And they flirt with creating a really cool 3-dimensional bad guy or adversary in Drago. But they don't quite have time for it, right? It's like they almost get there, and you're like, oh my God, this is actually like almost a gripping drama, but there's too much. We got to do a Rocky movie.
Right. Because the last half hour is a fight, always.
Yeah. So brings us here to Creed 3, where Stallone has been having some problems with the rights and the this and the that, and he can't get, he's in conflict with the rights owners, and he wants more piece of the pie, and blah, 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 blah. You can read about that. But regardless, his stance is, I'm not involved. I'm not going to be on screen. I'm not involved. List me as a producer. I ain't part of this until I get my piece of the pie back. And so this is the first movie, and they decide we're going to hand it to Michael B. Jordan. So Michael B. Jordan, in his directorial debut.
Oh, he directs it?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Stars in it. He co-wrote the screenplay. No, incorrect. He did not co-write the screenplay. The screenplay is by Keenan Coogler, who is Ryan's brother, and Zach Balin. It's a direct sequel to Creed 2, Creed 1, so it's right in the canon. They don't mention Rocky. They don't bring him up. He's not involved. But the way they frame the beginning of the film is that they kind of montage through Adonis Creed's whole career. He decides to hang it up while he's ahead and while he's champ, and he's got to come out of retirement, perhaps, because... let me see.
So they've already switched to coming out of retirement in 3. That's the same thing Rocky did. Like, I'm retired after like the first movie, and like, I've got 7 more movies.
Right. So what is really interesting is that they take the story in a really kind of more based in a more grounded reality. And it also stars, I have to mention Tessa Thompson, who plays Bianca, who is his girlfriend / wife, who is wonderful.
She's always great.
She's great. They do yeoman's work trying to elevate her past the, fighter's wife.
Right,
she's got her own music career stuff going on, and none of that ever really elevates past,
They're trying.
They're trying. But her performance elevates it to she's not like Adrian, who's just like, I can't what, but she's a much stronger woman character. And I think that they've learned from that. I mean, not that Talia Shire and Adrian was amazing, but she gets some words in. She kind of does some therapy for him. But Jonathan Majors, who's having one hell of a year, starring in all kinds of films. He's playing Kang the Conqueror in the Marvel Universe. He's got some things jumping off. He's just incredible. He got down to 4% body fat for this film. Oof. And he plays, so it turns out Creed came up in a boys' home, and he had a friend played by Jonathan Majors. They went through some bad stuff together, and his slash brother growing up in this foster home ends up going to prison for 18 years. He's coming out of prison now, and he was a boxer too, and now he wants what's his, right? And so there's conflict. They deal with conflict. He turns into a baddie. They fight at the end. I mean, it is what it is.
Right.
So the press going into this movie has been how, this is going to be a much more grounded tale, a different take. We're taking the whole thing in a different direction. Even Stallone came out and he says, I don't like the dark places they're going. And you're thinking, oh man, what are they going to do? Well, I'm here to tell you, it's exactly what you think it's going to be. It's there's still a lot of Rocky callbacks. There's a lot of Rocky homages. Michael B. Jordan is clearly still a fan of Stallone and the films and the whole thing. They treat it well. It's a well-written story. The performances are off the charts incredible. And I'll say this, once again, they go 90% about creating a almost really incredible three-dimensional adversary. They're also talking about in this film violence as a means for the African American community to deal with things and how it's inbred in their sort of upbringing and the sort of the prison system as a they touch on all of those things. But once again, they learned from from Creed 2, and they're like, we can't be 2.5 hours, so it's a solid 2 hours, right? It paced very well, but in that you see a lot of plot threads that clearly
probably could have used those extra half hours.
We're going somewhere, and then in the edit room, they're like, yeah, no. And one of the reasons they do that, I believe, my take is that Jonathan Majors is so good. We talk about this on some of our TV shows, Keith. His performance is so good that they realize, you know what? Just by his performance, it's doing a lot of the subtext work for us. So we could probably cut this scene where they say, because he's showing.
Yeah.
He shows a lot of the pathos. He shows a lot of the feeling of these young men whose lives are taken from them. 18 years of his life, his dreams, his ambitions, and then you come out and nobody gives a shit about you, right?
Right.
And the people who were your friends and loved you, they let you go, either because they wanted to avoid the trouble or they got new lives, like Donnie, who was adopted by a wealthy family and put on the path of privilege. He had his own struggles, but his parents helped him and he shut off those parts of his past that he wanted to forget. And it's about reckoning with that and so there's this kind of really cool, gripping drama about all of that then is interrupted by, and then his daughter, who is starting to start to use violence as a way of communication because she's has hearing loss, and so there's a whole communication issue, and you're like, oh my God, there's so many cool stories, but we have to have a big fight at the end, and so a lot of those don't really get the full movie treatment, which I forgive it because it is what it is.
It sounds like a movie in need of a director's cut.
Yes, maybe. That said, what Michael B. Jordan brings to the film that is a very contemporary touch. The fight sequences are imbued with a little more respect for actual boxing. The strategy, he slows it down. There's also a comic book touch. A lot of super hyper close-ups with comic book panel shots, like still shots of like blood and sweat, poof, and then slowing down. And then at one point, I don't want to give too much away, but at one point, rather than just show a montage of all the middle rounds of a fight, they abstract the audience, right? And they hyper focus on the two men and express how they're communicating in the ring, physically, verbally, non-verbally, and it's an abstraction, which is really cool. Additionally, they use sound and the soundtrack to very much ground this in LA, the types of hip hop they pick, the types of artists they pick, the lyrics of the songs, the raps they pick. Really, really great. Really specific. The entrances, they do the thing where they try to use Sports Center and some of the announcers to and I don't know, that all works to varying degrees. I mean, there's depending on your suspension of disbelief. I would say that I was lucky that at this screening, there was nobody else there. We were in an IMAX screening with just us. So it was pretty awesome. And, the one thing you can't, at least even in my nice theater setup, I can't recreate is when things are at 1,000,000 decibels and you can feel the bass pumping in your chest. And so that audible the tangible audacity, audible. You know what I'm trying to say? The reach in your throat and kind of feel the punches. Really, I thought added to the whole picture. And I thought the conclusion was actually fairly well done. I mean, all told, I would say it's my favorite Rocky sequel in the Creed franchise, except the first one. I thought the first Creed, because I will say this: the best part of
it's better than 2.
Yeah, it's like it's better than 2, and I think Michael B. Jordan under the crushing weight of that, the history of the franchise, really does well. And I really hope for him that they figure out the stuff with Stallone and bring Rocky back so they can tie up the story in some way. I don't know if it's going to happen. I think it deserves it because there is a distinct lack of Rocky. You know, old man Rocky saying something wonderful is pretty awesome. But the way in which they brought him back out of retirement does bring a question of how they would get him, how contrive him to box again. But
they never stopped him.
Yeah,
I mean, like I think like 6 out of the 7 original Rockies end with "If you take another punch, you're gonna die, Rocky. I'll never do it again."
I gotta say, they did another Rocky trilogy, and all 3 were pretty good. Whereas the first 3 Rocky films, you could argue that. Well, we have argued. I really think Rocky 3 is objectively terrible. But I like 4, so we could talk about Rockies all the time. So regardless, I really enjoyed Creed 3, and I can't encourage you to go to the movies to see it. But when it comes on the streamers, 100%.
All right. Yeah, I mean, Michael B. Jordan, I don't know the guy. I don't know anything but he just radiates like a really smart, talented guy who's going to do more and interesting things as he gets older.
It was shot for IMAX, so if you are a Rocky person and you want to go see the film, find yourself an IMAX screening because it is pretty impressive.
Okay, cool.
All right, so Keith, you have been playing a video game that I played in a galaxy that is one that we don't talk about generally. So I'm excited to hear all about it.
Yeah, so spoiler alert, if you would like some hot takes from 3-year-old video games, here we go. So I've been looking for a new game to play, and I've been struggling trying to find something. You know, I did another playthrough of Red Dead or whatever, and then I tried Fallout 76. I'm like, I'm not playing with these other people. Like I refuse to play a game where there have to be strangers going around distracting me. Right, I won't do it. I'm old. Mm-hmm. So I just hopped on and saw like, oh, there's a narrative Star Wars. Sure. I mean, I like Star Wars. I don't love Star Wars, but I like Star Wars. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Keith, you do know that there's a sequel for this game coming out in April. So you are prescient.
No, I do know it's coming. That'll be fun. Although I don't have a system that'll
April
play
28th. It. April 28th.
I don't have a system that'll play it well. So
your buddy Mike might have something for you.
No, because I need the next gen anyway. I actually really have been really enjoying the game. I'm a fan of the Tomb Raider series, mm-hmm. and have really enjoyed. I mean, they're easy, like they're not difficult at all. It's not really about crazy difficult combat or like that. It's just jumping around, climbing stuff, finding stuff, and I really like that. Mm-hmm. And so I played the contemporary Tomb Raider series multiple times, and then
all three of them,
and starting this one, I'm like, oh, it's kind of just Tomb Raider with some Jedi stuff, mm-hmm. and I don't care about the lore. He's Meep Mort from Planet Zorp Zop and the food. Who cares? But I love having to navigate all the maps and finding stuff and upgrading your stuff and shooting, and it's got a really great cast. Cameron Monaghan from really Shameless.
Good. Yep.
Loved him on Shameless. Loved that show. That was really good. You've got Deborah Wilson from Mad TV. All of a sudden, Forrest Whitaker's showing up. I can see him coming later. We've got Liam McIntyre from Spartacus coming up, which is great. He did an amazing cameo for my buddy Twigs the other day. Liam McIntyre did, and gave him the tell my buddy happy birthday in Spartacus dialogue, and he's like, oh god. All right, but he did it. He nailed it. He put a lot of effort. Anyway, if you need a cameo from a Spartacus cast member, Liam McIntyre really
The deep cut
went
there.
full,
Deep cut.
like full. Oh, come on, Spartacus!
No,
The
I just mean like
best.
if you need a cameo from a Spartacus cast member, that's a very niche request.
Look, cameos are a big old thing, and the people who put full effort into it, I hats off for that amount of work. So anyway, I'm not very far. I mean, I'm only on like the third or fourth world, but it's been delightful. The monsters are interesting, and it's not like there's nothing groundbreaking. It's all the exact obvious stuff. Like I know how to do it because of Tomb Raider. It's all the same stuff.
I
Satisfying.
I think I mentioned this in one of our early Geeklies. I am in a phase now that if a game doesn't catch me, I bounce. Like I don't force myself.
Yeah.
I have the privilege that I can bounce off a game. It used to be like you could afford one game a year, so you have to just put all of your hours into it. And that's why I'm still playing that Harry Potter game. I'm just obsessed with the world. It caught me. Another game I'll mention. I really liked this game. I think they probably patched it at the time. I played it early. I jumped on right away. The biggest problem I had was the map. The UI map was a 3D mess, and I could not use it to get where I was going. And I found that to be kind of restrictive. I've heard that potentially they fixed it or they've addressed it. So.
Yeah, I mean it was fine. Like it is 3D. It's whatever. But like actually, like I'm like, all right, yeah, I can navigate with it.
Okay, so they must have fixed. I'm telling you, it was a pain in the butt. And the other issue I had with the game is just that I found none of the collectibles interesting or fun. And sometimes I like when I like to get stuff and like do up my character. And I didn't find that like you could find a lot of different weapons or ways to upgrade that were very interesting. And the stupid tunics you found were stupid.
Yeah, I don't care about that.
But
that
the EA or the Star Wars, whoever they give their licenses to, know how to tell a cool story. He's bland kind of lead guy, like rando white guy, but I thought the story was fun. I saw all the way through. I thought the moment-to-moment gameplay, traversal, like you said, was fun. The sorting is fun. Like, yeah, totally worth picking up. I think it's like it's cheap as hell right now.
And some like fun puzzle stuff. And for me, the Tomb Raider is all about the puzzles, all about the tombs. Mm-hmm. And so there were a couple of cool puzzle stuff here, at least that I've seen so far.
So that Tomb Raider just got bought up. They just sold that IP, and they're going to make like a whole cinematic universe with it, the games.
I'm excited.
And TV shows and stuff.
I hope they're able to sort of keep that feel together because I loved it.
Yeah, I really did. I really dug all three of those games, the Eidos games.
I love them. And so, lastly, I'll say, speaking of like how to get it cheap, let me give my full thumbed endorsement to EA All Access. Which, if you're a sports nerd, if you're like, if my primary video gaming is sports, it's Madden, it's FIFA, it's NHL, right? The EA All Access thing gives you their entire library, and you have to wait like 9 months for the latest sports thingies. So like I'm playing 22 as opposed to 23. Who cares?
Yep.
$30 a year for their entire library, and so they do all the Star Wars stuff. They've got they've got all the pew pew, the Battlefield, whatever's, all of the Need for Speeds, all the sports. You've got all your major sports other than baseball. $30 a year, 100% worth it. It's cheaper than all the other stuff, and I use it. I've had it for years, and I just use it constantly.
Well, I'm going to one-up Keith there because I think the best value in gaming currently, if you're a gamer, right, is Game Pass on Xbox and Microsoft. Now, I'm a primary a Sony guy, I always have been, but I will say Game Pass is the best value in gaming. They have different tiers. The top tier, Game Pass Ultimate, which is what I'm a part of, but I got on super sale because every once in a while they do these ridiculous sales where you get like 2 years of Game Pass for like half the price.
No, yeah, you mentioned the...
right now, at full price, it's $15 a month, which is like a Netflix subscription or something. But all of their first-party games, day and date on Game Pass, right? You can just download any game. Their Game Pass library, any game you want to play, this game included, they're all on Game Pass. Plus, if you have a PC, they're all available on PC. And Ubisoft, their Ubisoft subscription thing, and EA All Access are wrapped into Game Pass. So you get all this stuff too. It's
which is great, and I think the reason I don't do it is that I'm a $2.50 $2.50 a month amount of gameplay, not
mhm.
$15 a month worth of game. And I don't give a crap that this is from 2019.
Yeah, well, I
Like
mean,
it's
it depends. I mean, the thing is that once with Game Pass, like you could theoretically get the Xbox Series S, which is the cheaper version of the streaming only version of the or the
right
digital only version of the new bells and whistles, which I have both for reasons. And
because you're you.
no, I will say I have some friends in tech that I get things either for
Mhm.
really really cheap or for free. So I'm privileged in that way. But I have found nominal difference between the two things. You know what I mean? So I have to say, if you're going to get one, you got to get the little one. It just makes no sense to buy the whole Series X thing. Anyway, and most of those come with a year or 6 months of Game Pass, and then once you're in, you
Right.
realize I'm in. So anyway, yeah, Fallen Order is great. I think it's a great
Good
recommend.
stuff.
Yeah,
I'm enjoying it. Yeah.
let's. Keith, do you have anything super rad you want to talk about? I know you threw baseball cards in there. Maybe we could talk about that, and I'll give you a
Oh,
rad.
well, yeah. I mean, we don't have to talk about this time, but I did something wildly out of character this week, and that was like I don't collect baseball cards. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
football card guy, and I don't really even collect them anymore. I collect exclusively Phil Simms cards. But I was like scrolling around on Facebook Marketplace because I was like just waking up on my phone, and I saw this guy was selling all of these baseball cards from the '60s, relatively cheap, and I'm like, huh. And so I looked up a couple of them, and like they're actually worth a lot of money, a lot more than I paid for it, or than he was asking for it. I'm like, okay, what I was just like on a weird
Did
like
they come
Keith
yet?
adventure, and I was like, I don't know, I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't care to resell anything because that's a huge pain in the ass, but I'm like, what the hell. I was like, let me have an adventure today. So I went and I bought a bunch of baseball cards
Ooh.
from the 60s. So like a lot of like Topps 1964 baseball cards, and they're in relatively good condition. Got a couple of cool cards. There's a Thurman Munson from 1965 and some hologram cards from the
Oh, rad.
70s. I didn't even know they did like 3D hologram cards back then. So I have no idea what I'm going to do with these. I don't even care. I don't like baseball cards, but I was like, I don't know. It feels like a really good deal, and I don't want to sort of not take advantage of this good deal that I'm never going to. I don't know what I did.
My
I
dad
just did a
collected
weird
baseball
thing.
cards, and I have a bunch of old ones. He has one complete set. It's like a 1984 Topps
Hmm.
thing I have somewhere. I haven't ever gone through and valued it or anything. That's just a cool thing I have from my dad. He has also like a Joe DiMaggio ball I have over here. My dad was like a memorabilia guy, and my dad being the guy he was, a lot of it has been sold, but had been sold before it came down the pipeline. But I did get a good number of it. I had to sell
Yeah.
one thing. He had this great Mickey Mantle piece that I sold when I moved to New York. He would have been pissed, but you know.
Uh,
Anyway,
yeah. I
actually,
mean, it's who knows. It's fun.
that segues a little bit, Keith, because first things first. When this airs tomorrow is CEO Jen's birthday.
Oh right.
So go ahead and pop in the comment. She actually watches Geekly. So go ahead and pop in the
Oh, happy
comments.
birthday,
Say
Jen.
happy birthday. She'll read it and she'll feel special. But I talked about my wife last week. So this week we are going down to North Carolina to see Jen's mom. They share a birthday. Isn't that weird? Mother and daughter, they share a birthday.
That is weird.
Yeah. So every year I remember my mother-in-law's
Excuse me.
birthday, which not everyone can say because it's my
Yeah.
wife's birthday. Anyway, so we're going down, but then on the way home, we're going to visit my aunt, which is a cool story because my dad only had one sister, and that's my aunt. And because reasons, I didn't see her a lot growing up. And when my dad died, both my grandparents passed away, and not long after. And so I have like no real ties to my father like through like the family tree. But just like through a visit to New York, my aunt and her husband, my uncle Jay, were in New York, and my wife and I had lunch with them. And like I didn't really know my aunt, but we sat down. They were staying at the Astoria, the Waldorf, and I don't know what it's called now, if it's still called that, or but you know the
It's
hotel.
probably
I'm referring.
like the Chase Bank.
Yeah.
Waldorf Astoria.
But we had tea at the Waldorf, and like it turned into like a 4-hour, just like amazing conversation. I realized like my aunt, who I just never knew really, is an incredible human being. And so we're going to stop by and see them on the way back. And I'm so excited. And it's like, because I'm all that she has left really of her brother, and she's really all I have left of my dad. And so it's like, I'm really excited to get to spend time with her. And she's this like high powered real estate lady down there. And it's like really cool. So that's
nice.
My cool thing is that like, remember, just as a reminder, as an adult, and this sounds silly, but it's true. As an adult, you get to gatekeep your relationships. Are there family members or people or friends that like are toxic to you and you don't need to be a part of them? And vice versa. Are there relationships that you would like to rekindle or you feel like might be important to you, and whatever for reasons growing up or whatnot that they're strained, whatnot, you can control the effort level. And you could open up a whole pathway to a new relationship. You never know.
That is so true and so prescient, because like I over the holidays I realized that or I found out that a first cousin of mine, like daughter of my uncle, died, who I didn't know existed, who lived 30 minutes from me my entire childhood. Didn't even know they existed. Crazy.
Yeah. And then lastly, Keith, I'll just say, on the way, this is because CEO Jen is awesome. On the way, we are going to stop in Fredericksburg, Virginia, at a place called Gateway Comics and Toys, which we had stopped at briefly when my tire broke last year. But this is a like epic, like picture Costco-sized warehouse of this guy who collects vintage toys, vintage comics, vintage action figures, board games, all kinds of rad stuff. The last time I just kind of went in and took some pictures, but this time, Keith, we're stopping for lunch.
Going in with a budget
during rush hour, and I am making sure I am not walking out empty-handed. For myself, for you, for something. So we're coming back with some goodies. So get ready for a FaceTime, probably around 6:00. But I'm excited. So a shout out to Gateway Comics in Fredericksburg, Virginia. They also do a huge online. They have a huge online shipping presence. So you know what?
I'm so excited for that.
I'll go ahead and give it a commercial.
There's another place near me that I just discovered I need to go to. It's one of those like great little like vintage toy stores that's only open for like 6 hours a week.
Yes, that's why we had to time the travel. I'll say 1 million comics and growing. Gateway Comics and Toys has an unparalleled selection. Blah 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 blah. Golden, Silver Age, Bronze, Omnibus, trade paperbacks, and everything in between. Thousands of toys, statues, figures, models, collectibles, antiques, Funko Pop figures, gaming supplies. Replenished daily, unique inventory check system, online orders, full service online store, pre-order, pickup in person, shipping, or curbside. The website, gatewaycomicsandtoys.com. So check them out. Hopefully I'll have a good haul. So Keith.
I'm excited. Wait, I have one more rad thing before you take us away. Yeah, because my baseball cards was sort of random. Just very quickly, both of my elderly parents but older parents have COVID this week.
Oh,
and my mother has rheumatoid arthritis, which means she's on crazy powerful medications that make COVID a very dangerous thing for her, as well as being older and having these pre-existing conditions. And I would like to say my thank you to the rad thing, vaccines. Here I am on the internet talking about vaccines, but hey, a couple of years ago, if my mother particularly had COVID, this would be a terrifying week, a life and death scary week. And right now, she's got a cold. She's still hiking in the woods. Thanks to the vaccines that she's been able to have, thanks to the responsibility of the people around her that prevented her from, and her own responsibility, preventing them from getting COVID up until this point, made something that could have been life and death terrifying and made it like, oh, bummer, and have some tea. So that's a rad thing, and I appreciate it.
Well, folks, there you have it. Science, and our best wishes for a speedy recovery regardless.
Yes.
All right, so everyone out there, it's Monday, but that doesn't mean you can't have a great week. In the interim, until we see you again, you know what? Don't let anybody yuck your yum. Keep doing those things that you find fun. And on behalf of K&M Geekly, keep on geeking on. Till next week. Peace.